had attended St. Bartholomew for preschool, going to kindergarten was a big deal. I would be going to Van Zyl Elementary with my big brother. I would be able to walk with him in the morning. He would have to walk home by himself because kindergarten was only half a day. Kindergarten is when I believe I became aware of my mother's abusive relationship. We lived close to the school, so close I could hear my mother scream. One day while I was at school, I heard my mother scream. I got out of my seat and ran to the window. We were on the second floor, so I had a good view of the neighborhood. My teacher came to me and asked me to have a seat. I remember telling her that my mom was being hurt, so she took me to the office and my mother was called. Shortly after my mom arrived, I asked her if she was okay. She asked me if I was okay. My mother wasn't being hurt, but I guess I was so used to hearing her scream, I could hear it playing over in my head. My biggest concern at 5 years old was not learning to ride my bike or how to tie my shoe or jump in during jump rope. My biggest concern was if my mother would be alive when I returned home from school. Kindergarten.
The click. That's all I remember. Mouth bloody. Eyes closed. Tears rolling down my eyes. I was praying to God if I made it out that situation. If I walked out of there alive. Because my kids was about to not have a mom. That was a day I will never forget. I saw the signs. And I decided to ignore them. Or rather, I thought that I could love him enough to change him, when in fact, it was me that was changing. The scars I bared were emotional. They were physical. I continued to pray as the time passed that he would let me out of this house that I was being held captive in. Eventually, a phone call is what saved my life. It's never easy to say you've been a victim. It's never easy to feel like you can go to people and not be judged. It's hard to tell a story and no one believes you because you've hid behind a mask for so long in your situation. But behind that mask is a survivor. Behind that mask is a strong woman or man. Behind that mask is something beautiful that you can turn. So at the end of the day, love doesn't hurt. Love shouldn't hurt. And at any point in time, when you start to see that you're losing yourself in a relationship, whether it's a man or woman, it's time to remove yourself from that situation. Knowing what I know now, the signs were there. The controlling of finances, the controlling of time, the small pushes, the play fighting that got a little too serious. And it became to a fact where I dismissed it and thought that I could change the person I was seeing evolving in front of me, when in reality, I was the one that was being changed. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. I was scarred. The wounds didn't hurt as much as the words, but they all are one and the same. It's time to step away from that situation. Don't allow a casket to close for you to finally leave a toxic situation. Seek help. Get help. Let somebody know. Break the cycle. And remove the mask.
I remember one incident, we got into a really heated argument. I was 5 months pregnant. We got into a really bad heated argument. He pushed me down to the floor. I got up, I ran towards the door to get out. He blocked the door and wouldn't let me leave. grabbed me around my neck, spit in my face, and repeatedly jumped up and down on me. No matter how loud I yelled, no matter how many times I pleaded and begged for him to stop for the sake of our baby, he did not stop. Thank God I had a family member that heard my screaming and yelling, and he came in, he got him off of me. He called 911. They took him to jail and they took me to the hospital. Thank God my baby was okay. I, on the other hand, wasn't. I was black and blue from the bruises. I had to stay in the hospital for a few days. After that, I was released to go home. After I was released, I went back to him. Even though he hurt me and he could have killed our baby, I thought that my love for him would change him, but it didn't, and it never did. I can recall our second incident. We got into another heated argument. He was very, very, very controlling. His self-esteem was really low. He was very insecure. He didn't want me to have any friends. I couldn't do things with my friends. He just pretty much controlled my entire life. This incident, we got into a really big fight. He pulled a gun on me. We fought for, I know, 30 to maybe 40 minutes. I managed to get away from him. I ran to the kitchen and I got a knife and I stabbed him. At that point, I just really felt like I had to do something to get out of that house, because all I could remember was him saying, "I'm gonna kill you." Over the years, we fussed, we fought, on and off. We would have good times, then we would have bad times. But our bad times always outweighed our good times. Until one day I realized that I deserved better and I could no longer stay in an abusive relationship. No woman deserves to be treated that way.
I never believed in monsters. I never believed in them until the day he showed me that they not only hide in closets, but inside those you hold Teddy Ruxpin close. And so I borrowed Jason's mask to hide from the inevitable, but his contempt dripped from blades sharper than Mr. Kruger's, and now my dreams are in danger. Not hiding between stilettos and empty hangers, but inside I love yous. That meant I loathe you, less between fornicating strangers. I believe he hated me. And maybe if I'd have seen it the first time he type berated me, dumb bitch, kick to the guts, anything to put degrading me, he felt I deserved it. So as his hands verbalized just how worthless my pretty teeth were without a little blood to show off their purpose, my old positive made me oh so positive that the bitter copper taste lining my throat wasn't his prerogative. Amidst the traffic jam of broken thoughts, my broken heart was the most cognitive. I heard me crying, my self-respect buried in my sanity dying, same hands around my throat, I couldn't breathe but I kept trying. Reaching to my heavens, I saw God's tears and heard my grandmother sighing. But then he apologized, and those words worth their weight in gold had my fears suddenly subsidized, until HD x-rays of my thoracic cavity showed me another side of Genesis chapter 2, but instead of giving, this Adam broke ribs with pride. And I didn't even get a damn Granny Smith apple. All I got was promised that he changed before we make it to the chapel. All I did was pick up the pieces left behind by his temper's invisible shrapnel. Subconsciously, I consciously pray for his hugs after each grapple. Imagination mixed with reality spelled love and brutality, but wait, this ain't Scrabble. But still, I loved him. I loved him more than I loved myself. After names became more than nouns and verbally robbed me of self-wealth. After pain was more than a word but evolved to a verb predicated on my health. Tears full of spineless words like paperbacks on crowded shelves. I turned toward accusing mirrors pointing fingers at myself, while tan-covered girl concealer made a heaven out of hell. I reached back into the recesses where my memories sometimes dwell, where smiles hid no stresses and didn't dance atop eggshells. I faced a stranger with my eyes who bought the lies he chose to sell. I told her truth she'd never believe until she faced the truth herself. I don't deserve this.
are victims of domestic violence. Some don't live to tell their story. Sometimes the children are the survivors. It's not your fault, 91.